got now full report of what's happening in England. This is unbelievable.
I saw two articles in the internet issue of
What?
Jerusalem Post. I saw two articles.
About what's happening in England?
No. There was an American Lutheran minister, and he's in Iran now. And he said that Jewish money and power has been eroding Christian values in the United States. And this led to the passage of the gay rights.
Led
marriage.
to? Led to what?
The passage of the gay marriage.
It's both. Yes. It's because they try to
the other article
Yeah.
dealt with a Syrian professor who said that the unorthodox methods of killing people by ISIS is Israel's fault.
Don't they realize that the reason why so many Jews are involved in all
But
this
listen
stuff
to
is
this.
because they assimilated us?
What I'm going to say now, this year, is also very personal biography. So, this, as I see now here, the most recent report of what's happening in London. So, I'm now going to describe what's happening in London. What happened on Friday? This is a report from Friday. Erev Shabbos Pashas Chukas, which was the 9th of Tammuz, the day before the Pasha of Chukas. 771 years ago, there were 24 cartloads of the Talmud, Bavli, and other Sforim, which were burnt in a central spot in Paris. And what is the news in London on that same day? That there's going to be a private ritual in a secret place in London on that same day. They announced it, where they will burn copies of the Talmud. But what is it? It is a response to the anti-Aryan race descriptions which are taught in the Talmud. And who does it come from? From a neo-Nazi group in London. So it says there, it would appear that this report in London is similar to what happened on the same date 771 years ago. It's just, and although it's true that all over the world there are blames to this news item, which was declared by a young neo-Nazi active person in Britain to prepare for the demonstration which he and his friends on Shabbos Pashas Boruch, next Shabbos, are going to put in one of those Jewish areas where I was raised, in Golders Green in London. Now, first I want to tell you what is my personal reaction to this. As my parents were wise enough, when they saw the rise of Nazism in Frankfurt, in Germany, in fact, my father, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, was a learned lawyer very highly respected, and kept to the Shulchan Aruch in accordance with the tradition of his parents. His mother was a daughter of the Rosh, and his father, my grandfather, was the Rav of the Großgemeinde, the larger community in Frankfurt. And my father, who had battled in the First World War, he was heavily wounded also. He was a Prussian officer. He got the Iron Cross. When Hitler came to power, he returned the Iron Cross to the government. And I remember his explanation of a pasuk which we recite in one of the Tehillim during the week. Yasu Ovel Alechok. Being a lawyer, he says the Nazi regime, they are producing iniquity on the basis of laws of iniquity, Yasu Ovel Alechok, which is the height of corruption. And he prepared to leave Nazi Germany in good time. And we went over to London, actually lived in Hampstead, but our spiritual home was Golders Green. We used to walk there, Shabbos and Yom Tov. There was a stronger German Jewish community known as the Munkschule. And I became members there. I was educated there. I remember I came to Germany as a boy of not yet 6. I was already 6, I was already 6 years old. And I remember over here next door to us, where we lived, there was also a German non-Jewish German family whom we suspected that they were spies. But when I was in Frankfurt and went to the school as a little boy, I still remember some of the non-Jews throwing stones at me. I went to Jewish school. I still remember when there was once a huge march of the Hitlerjugend. I looked out the window and he was there. The leader of the Nazis himself. We saw this as children, we were a bit afraid. We came to London. There was no Jewish school for my age group nearby, so I went to non-Jewish school without knowing any English. So at the beginning, there was suspicion. You Germans. Very quickly, as a result, also my parents insisting we should only speak English as much as possible in the house. We picked up the language and were accepted with friendship. And when we afterwards saw how Great Britain in fighting the Nazis, so it comes a bit of a shock to see that neo-Nazism is very strong in England. I thought it was only the Muslims. No, this is a neo-Nazi exhibition, assembly, and they're going to make Afghanah, an anti-Semitic demonstration next week in Golders Green. Active neo-Nazis made known a few weeks ago they want to make such a demonstration against whom? Against the organization known as Shomrim. Because the Jews themselves, like we do here as well, even here we have Shomrim, Shabbat, also to make sure that we don't have Muslims stealing and doing harm. So in Golders Green, after the police the police get permission, but the police protect a lot of the places, but it's not enough. They say, you Jews do something. It's an organization of Shomrim. And the Nazis are opposing this. They made a demonstration already a few months ago in Stamford Hill, which produced no real consternation, because it's not so strongly organized. It became forgotten, hardly made an impact on anyone. It's made a demonstration. But now they want to make a larger demonstration at Golders Green, and to combine it with a private ritual of burning the Talmud. They're doing on the same day. So the fact that the Jews of London were given permission to protect themselves in front of the anti-Semites who surround them through the power of the Shomrim, and the anti-Semitic groups call this the right to give the Jews permission to have such an organization. So therefore they call their demonstration an activity against the Shomrim, against those who want to protect the Jewish community. And the person who is one of the organizers, he says he's the main organizer, is called Joshua Bonhill, a young anti-Semite who was already, to some extent, given a law of the courts, the police, that a few months ago, when he made an attack and harassed with words some Jewish communal leaders. Therefore, he has a prohibition to come near to London. But he is the one who doesn't care. He's calling out anti-Semitic activities in London. And he is the one who's rousing the right-wing groups and organizations, the extreme nationalists of Britain, to join in with his demonstration.
What is his name?
Joshua Bonhill. And he's already brought a few others who are taking a tramp to join these neo-Nazis. And some of the more traditional neo-Nazis are joining. So there's a certain lawyer, a Jewish lawyer, Mark Lewis, who is active in the Jewish community, and he says the real one who's organizing it is called somebody called Eddie Sampson, who is the most abominable racist, and in the past he belonged to what's known as the National Front, the battle group number 18. And amongst those who are speaking is also Martin Webster, who is a remnant from the neo-Nazi movement of the 70s. A very doubtful character who has become revived now. Lewis says, after the demonstration which took place at Stamford Hill, and that was something which didn't make an impression, the anti-Semites said in Golders Green it's going to be on a larger scale. She asked as many people as possible have got an influence, and one of them is one of the radio commentators of the British radio, the BBC, Ian Dale. who discussed with this Lewis. Was able to discuss with this Jewish lawyer who's trying to get involved to protect the Jews. What is going to be the demonstration, and what type of counter-demonstration is the Jewish community preparing? And they especially do it on Shabbos, because they think, well, most of the Jews in Golders Green are religious and want to keep Shabbos, and so they won't get much opposition from them. But many Jewish organizations have got involved. Those who try to help the Jews in Britain. And there's an organization, Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, which is an organization which was raised at the time of the last war, Tzuk Eitan, where we know there was an enormous amount of anti-Semitism arising in England. So he said the program is as follows. We're still trying to involve ourselves in intensive dialogue to allow the Metropolitan Police of London to make sure there should be law and order. We'd much prefer that they should, according to the law of the public law and order, they should forbid it. This not neo-Nazi demonstration, because it's too dangerous. But this can't be put into practice. If it turns out then that they're permitted on the 4th of July, which is next Shabbos, to make their demonstration, we will organize thousands of Jews and non-Jews to stand in an honorable fashion with unity and with pride. Want to demonstrate that these racialists, they're not only against Jews. This gives them the power to try to become a larger party and to make more and more provocations. And we have to organize a large group that will show them that this cannot continue. Since it would appear the demonstration was arranged to start with on Shabbos, so we asked the organizers, how are we going to deal with this? So it said we're organizing it all together with the rabbis of the area. So we can't have, there isn't air in many of the areas. There's a certain, so we're not having them putting up plaques, but we are preparing a special shirt on which we will put the opposition to Nazism in England. And nearer the date, we'll see what will happen. We don't want to give the neo-Nazis time to prepare themselves to oppose what we want to do. But we're organized together with the police, and there's also an organization for communal security, which helps to bring some protection to the Jews of Britain. So the London Metropolitan Police, they say they will permit the demonstration, but they're close to the Jewish community organizations, and they're taking notice of their concerns in order to make sure that this demonstration of the anti-Semites will have minimum influence. This is what the head of police there, John Mosley, who looks after the police in Golders Green area, And the meeting took place together not only with the representatives of the organization Shomrim, who tried to guard the Jews, but also representatives of more than 40 synagogues of the area who were very worried. But they are trying to organize, we said that there should be strong solidarity and much larger numbers to try to make sure that the neo-Nazis will be in a weak position. At the same time, there are many in the parliament who are trying to get votes in parliament to forbid this demonstration. And turns out there are quite a lot of members of parliament who are trying to get it to be stopped by the parliament. The day after this meeting, this Josh Bonhill came out with a statement, they're going to burn the Talmud. And they say, in addition to that, at the demonstration, they're going to destroy the flags of Israel. But it's forbidden by law to burn the flags of Israel. They'll be arrested. So they'll tear the flags to pieces. So the members of parliament, you mentioned a few names here, both from the Labour, also from Conservatives, and they're asking the Home Officer, the Home Minister, she's called Theresa May, that she should stop it, stop the whole demonstration. And the members of parliament who say this demonstration is taking place in an area where 40% of the population are Jews on the Jewish Shabbat. And they say all means have to be used to protect this active community of Golders Green from provocations. And they called upon the Minister May to see if there's anything can be done to stop this movement of hatred. Also the Board of Deputies of the Jewish community, which is representative of all the Jews of Britain, they are make an arrangement that on the Thursday for this Shabbat they're going to come out in the mass media for the whole of Britain to do everything possible, it can't be stopped, but to make sure that it will not produce any violence against the Jews. So this is surely a most terrible situation, because we're going back to the Dark Ages, burning of the Talmud. So, first of all, do you have any comments on this? Before I'm going to describe to you now what happened on this same date, 771 years ago. Yeah.
I was going to say that actually on the subject of Muslims and Nazis, Hitler himself actually liked Islam, he even praised it. He said it was his favorite religion. And many Nazis later on converted to Islam when they fled to Arab countries. In Egypt especially.
Well, the Mufti of Jerusalem, during a good part of the war, was in Berlin, a partner with Hitler.
Yeah.
And he helped to produce the manifesto of Hitler, that all Jews have to be completely extinguished.
If that
So
happened,
now let me go back to what happened on this date. As it's reported in the most ancient records, it says, on Friday of Zot Chukot HaTorah, 24 cartloads filled with Sifrei Talmud, Halachot Nagadot, also Midrashim, everything that comes to in manuscript, took place in France. And it's well known, the Maram of Rothenburg, who witnessed this, he composed the lamentation which included in those said on Tisha B'Av. And he says as follows, Adamel nafshi v'echel chiki echol. How can I eat? How can I be in tranquility when I see that our enemies have taken together the spoil from the Jewish people and they have burnt up the most superior spoil which exists. And they're no longer allowing them to be used by your community. This appeal to Hashem. And then he says, I'm bringing down tears until they become like a stream. And they will reach the places where they're buried. The two noble leaders, Moshe and Aaron, on the mountain of Hor. And will ask, why were your productions, the written of it, and the oral law, why were they burnt? I wonder very much concerning the light of day which can shine to this dark period. So now if you want to understand the hatred to the Talmud from the Christian world at that time and the Inquisition, and by the way it took place to a great extent supported by one of the main priests of the Inquisition at that time, was called Sorbonne, after whom the University of Paris is named until today. But we have to understand this, that it's partly caused by the Mumarim. There were amongst the Jewish people apostates who became Christian missionaries. Well, it happened in those times when there was so much Christian anti-Semitism, and Jews who wanted to have a position where they could earn money well, sometimes reach a high position, they became Christians. And they helped the church to go and support the anti-Semitic policies. Because what happened, there was a certain apostate, his new name is Nikolai Dinin. He did a great deal of harm to the Jews of France. And he wrote many evil things about the Jewish people. And he sent them to the Pope at that time, was Gregory IX, and to the King of France, Louis IX. Now, what was the special grievance of this missionary? he had a great grievance against the greatest Rav of Paris, Rabbi Yechiel of Paris. Yechiel is bet din when he was still Jewish. So they made a decision of din Torah and excommunicated him because of he wouldn't listen to the bet din, because he was already doing negative things against the Jewish community, but he was still Jewish. So he was put and excommunicated, which had the result he became to hate the rest of the Jews. So he became a Christian, and he worked very hard to make sure that the Pope and the King would start hating the Rabbonim and the Talmud. Until the end, he committed suicide. Yeah. So he brought many complaints against the Talmud. So the king decided, Louis the Ninth, he decided he's going to examine more closely what these complaints are. So he decided he's going to make a public debate between the representatives of the Jews and the representatives of the Christians, and find out, is the Talmud permissible in a Christian society, or do we have to ban it? So it turned out, on the Monday of Pasha Balak, in the year 5000, that was fixed for the date of the debate. On the side of the lead of the Jewish committee was Rabbi Yechiel of Paris, and Moshe Mikutzi, who is the author of the Smag, Sefer Mitzvot Gurur, very great scholar. Also, Rabbi Shmuel ben Shlomo from Tyre, Yehuda ben David and Melaon. And this debate with the king went on for a few days, and in the end the rabbis succeeded to be victorious in that debate. And the content of this debate, of this public disputation between Jews and Christians, has been printed by the Christians and also by the Jews. Now, who won the debate? Rabbi Yechiel of Paris. But this didn't stop the hostility. There was a person who accepted and recognized the truth of the Jewish point of view, that the Talmud was a worthy work, but he died from sickness. But the priest, the head priest of the king, he said, oh, since he died, it's a sign we may not be lenient with the Jews. And therefore the king accepted his point of view, and he said that the Talmud indeed has to be burnt. And the date which was fixed was the Friday of Parshas Chukat. Now the truth is, even the Mogen Avraham brings that one makes a fast day. Some people have a cut, make a fast day in the week of Parshas Chukas because of the gigantic burning of manuscripts, which of course closed some of the Yeshivat. Didn't have any. Some of the teachers were also killed, and they had no books left, no printing. So it says, Yechidim, they do fast because of what happened. And then they asked, some of the leaders, they asked, does it have anything to do with the date? So it was shown in a dream, some people would say some of the leading rabbis, it's the parsha of Zot Chukat HaTorah. If you look in the Targum, the Aramaic Targum, Zod Gezerat Oraita. It's a decree against the Torah, which took place in Parshas Chukas. Now, we should know, listen to this, in the course of those years, before this happened, there was a huge dispute, the Jewish people, against the books of the Rambam, which caused, you can say, enormous machloket in the communities of Spain, France and Germany, in the course of which there's some of the books, especially the Sefer Mad of the Rambam, the first book of Mishnah Torah, and the Moreh Nevuchim, were burnt by the Jews.
But they're not Jews. They get released from Shemayim if they do those kinds of activities.
Well,
As it's
please. Now, the Shibul Leket and Rab Hillel, the son of Reb Lezer of Yarna, was the disciple of Aram Rottenberg. He says, if you'll ask me, who can show us those gezerot which came to burn the Talmud, maybe the result of the Jews burning the book of Madan, the book of Moreh Nevuchim. And I can give a proof that this seems to be one of the things that triggered it off, because within 40 days of the time when in that spot they burnt up the books of the Rambam, in that place itself, they were then burnt up all the books of the Talmud. And they mixed together the ashes, together with the ashes from the Sefer Matan and Moreh. The ash was still in the same place. And the Jews and the Gentiles saw here there was a din b'shamayim. And from above this fire was sent because the Jews themselves had burnt up the books. And then this person who writes this, he said, we know that one of the greatest Talmudic and moral teachers of that time, the famous Rabbeinu Yonah of Girona, Burundi. And he was one of those who said you should not learn the Moreh Nevuchim. You should also not learn the Sefer Mada. But afterwards he changed his mind. He saw his opposition was wrong. And he wanted to go to the grave of the Rambam to ask him for forgiveness. The enormous vacuum which was created as a result of not having all these holy writings, they find their expression in all the Sforim of the early authorities. Rav Shmuel ben Shlomo, who was a great colleague and friend of Yechiel of Paris, writes in his Teshuvah that my spirit left me, my strength departed, and the light of my eyes is no longer with me because of the terrible trouble that has come over us. And there's no way in which today we have no Sfarim, so we can't anymore study the Torah. What happened? Rabbi Yechiel of Paris didn't want to stay in France, and he came to Eretz Israel and settled in Akko. Rabbi Yonah also made his ways to Eretz Israel, but went on the grave of the Rambam to ask him for forgiveness. So this describes what took place in those years. Do you have any comments?
I think previously there was another famous disputation between the Ramban and some priests before the king of Spain.
Right.
And there was a book written called The Disputation in Barcelona.
Yes.
And many of the Rabbanim said after it was over that the Ramban was like sticking his hand into the serpent's den. So the king favored the Ramban. However, over 200 Rabbanim converted to Christianity later. in Barcelona. So today in Spain, there are many Gentiles who have Jewish blood.
Yeah.
One time, 1 out of every 4 people in Spain was Jewish. Going back.
Yes, okay. Spain today want to give Spanish citizenship
That's right.
to any of the descendants. It's also likely the Horovitz family, they ran away from Spain. Their origins also from Spain.
My mother,
They
my
went,
mother's side,
the original name was Benvisti.
my grandmother's side of Sholem,
Yeah.
they were came from
Yes, but I'll tell you about the Ramban. So it's like this, he also won the debate. It's also it's Christian as well as Jewish records of that famous disputation. But because he won it, also the person who opposed him was also a missionary, Fra Pablo. He was a Christian missionary, a Jew who became a Christian missionary. And he knew a lot of Judaism. Yeah, that's why generally that was similar later on in France. So he also came, that's why he came to Eretz Yisrael. He had to escape because the anti-Semitic movement was strong in Spain. So if he should win, he couldn't face that, so he had to go. The king advised him, go away quickly, save your life. And that's where we've got the Ramban Shul, the old city. He came to found the Kehillah in Yerushalayim. So now there's a further aspect. Because a few hundred years later, there was a community in Italy. We know also that that included also the Roman community, Jewish community, that set up a relationship with the Pope, the King of Italy. And there were great masters of Torah in Italy. But because also many people from Spain, they found a refuge in Italy. And Italy became built up as a major Torah community. And also, in Italy, there were quite a lot of rich Jews, so they were able to print foreign. That was the age of printing.
Cincino Press.
Yes, you see, even today, what's left from those times are the most valuable printed foreign in the Antiques Forum Judaica. But what happened was that unfortunately there was a big argument between 2 major printers. In fact, it had to do also with two printing firms, Jewish printing firms, printed the Rambam. And then they started fighting one with the other. Because of the strong competition which existed with all of them. So, as a result, they brought their complaints to the king and also even to the Pope. So this was, we've spoken about the burning of the Talmud in Paris. 300 years later, when the early printing took place, there was again a machloket about the books of the Rambam in a different manner. The 2 great printing presses in Italy, they had difference of opinion. Both of them printed at one time the Yad HaChazakah of the Rambam, together with the commentators. And this became of big complaints one against the other, and they went and complained in front of Pope Julius III in Rome. Each one said about the other one, they're printing books that contain insults against the Christians. And then there were some who had gone over to Christianity who went and joined in. I thought, no, we can show the negative aspects of the Talmud Judah, of the Talmud. So the 2nd of Elul, the Yeshin Gimel, the Pope gave out Pope's enactment. He gave it out to the whole of the Catholic Church, and all the different bishops and archbishops, that they're obligated to burn up the 2 Talmudim, Talmud Bavli Yerushalmi. So the Jews were asked to give over any books of the Talmud they possessed, and if not, all their possessions would be confiscated. There was also an enactment, Christians may not read the Talmud. They can't keep it in their possession. They are not allowed to help the Jews to write or to print it. When this came out, the heads of Rome were asked immediately to search the houses of all the Jews, and it made no difference between whether it was a Talmud or another Hebrew book. So they took out all Hebrew books from the house of the Jews and brought them to the central place of the city of Rome. And meanwhile, the Inquisition, the Nazarite Franciscani, belonged to the Franciscan Church, so he was a high noble, but he decided he's going to become Jewish. He saw the falsehood of Christianity, and he took on the new name of Cordanilvio from Montelacino. So this was generally the rule of the Inquisition, also later on even, the Roman Church, Russian Orthodox Church. If any one of the Christian priests, sometimes even from the hierarchy, and decided he wants to become Jewish, they burnt them at the stake. They got burnt up. So therefore, this Ger, he was burnt in the central area of Rome, and 5 days later, the Talmud was burnt in Rome. So this brought great fire of opposition to the Jews, to the Christians in Rome. And so this is what's producing the burning of the Talmud. And therefore they especially chose the first day of Rosh Hashanah in the Yeshin Yudalad, means over 400 years ago. There's tens and thousands of copies of Gemorahs, Mishnais, and Yaakov and other Hebrews for him were burnt. And all the bishops, they were to follow the same pattern all over, all the cities of Italy, and even went over to the islands of Corfu and Candia, with Crete, which at that time was under the rulership of Venice, and they gave even there the Siman, Kihema, Shin Dalad Yud Limaot, because that was the year Shin Dalad Yud. So in the year, 5 years later, they started burning up books of the Talmud, also in Cremona, as a result of which the yeshiva in that town had to be closed, because there had no books left. And some of the popes that came later, they repeated this enactment that no one was allowed to study the Talmud and that they would have to burn them up. It was forbidden also to print new ones. So there were only a few Jews in scattered areas that still they hid some of the Sforim. It's quite dangerous. And we know at that time Italy was the center of printing. Okay, so I think we'll like to continue with this tomorrow because it's quite significant. I hope this is also listened to by people from Great Britain. Maybe if they know a bit more about the history, what's been going on, they'll realize that this is a dangerous fire to play with. And let's hope, because we've also got news this week of hope, that Yitzhak Hashem, we're coming near to a time where human beings will recognize that Judaism gives the right path towards peace, and mankind has to give up this irrational anti-Semitism.
Amen. Have a nice day.
Hey, Rabbi, I have a question and 3 comments. What was Horowitz's family's original last name? Ben? Horovitz family original last name.
Ben Avisti.
Avisti. And also, King Louis IX died of dysentery on one of his many failed crusades, along with his 2 of his favorite sons. Also Pablo Cristiano was responsible for helping exterminate over 1/4 of the Ashkenazi Jewish population during the First Crusade, as many Ashkenazi Jews would rather martyr themselves and their children than convert. And the 3rd comment, as a result of the burnings of the Talmud in Italy, the Polish king allowed the Jews to keep the Talmud, and as a result many of the Jews fled to Poland, and that's why Poland had one of the largest Jewish communities in Europe.
That's right, yeah.